right, and we are recording. How you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Kirk?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Glad to hear it.
All right. Well, it is a beautiful day in San Francisco. It's the 13th of March, 2022. Thanks for joining the Make Guitar podcast. And today um, we're going to talk about rats and other categories of dirt pedals.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, I loaned you those kind of rat-like pedals. None of them was an exact rat clone, but they were close. What did you think of those?
I thought they were really cool. The the one that I started with was I don't actually know what you call this pedal because it didn't have a model name or anything on it, but it had a rat, it had an octave, that one, and it has a boost.
Yeah.
And it does a lot. I mean, that's three effects in one basically. So like the rat itself sounds great, sounds like a rat. Um, and then I got kind of addicted to that octave thing. It's like once you get that on there, it doesn't exactly sound like an octave pedal, but it really, really fattens up the sound. And then of course the boost is outrageous. It's like it has so much headroom on it. Um, you'd need, I don't know, you'd need a big amplifier and a big room to take advantage of that headroom.
Yeah. This is the parentheses fuzz from Pedal PCB.
Okay.
So it's a DIY. You just got to buy the circuit board and build it. But this is a clone, or it's a clone, but then with some mods of the Earthquaker Devices Life pedal, which is it's kind of like the signature pedal for Sun, the band.
Hmm.
So basically it's the Life pedal, but the Life pedal has a toggle switch for the clipping, and this has a 4-position rotary switch. So there's 4 different diode settings, and the Life pedal just has 2.
Yeah, actually, the that rotary switch, I think that kind of sort of justifies the need for that that filter and and possibly makes the boost thing make more sense because some of those settings on the diode selector are much quieter.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah. It's because of the diodes, like imagine like you have a signal going past the diode, and the voltage, I forget what they call it, the voltage reference of the diode, like basically, like as a signal goes past the diode, when it reaches a certain voltage it goes to ground. So essentially, like, the diode sets like the loudest amount the signal can get, or the highest the voltage can be, right? So if you have different voltage levels for different kinds of diodes, some of the diodes will sound louder than others because some of them will clip sooner, right?
Right.
Like LEDs clip at, like, 1.5 to 2 volts, right? So that's pretty high, so that one's like loud because there's one of the settings has an LED in it.
Hmm.
And then another one has the silicon diodes, and they clip at like zero point 0.7 volts. And then one setting has germanium diodes, and they clip at zero point 0.3 volts. So that's like a lot lower, you know. There's also kind of like a curve to the clipping. So as they start to clip, they kind of fall off at a different angle, if you graft it, you
Okay.
know. And so that can change the sound too. So the germanium diodes have like a softer knee, right? Or a softer curve to them, right? So they kind of have a different sound, They sound like a little
Okay.
more fuzzy to me,
Yeah.
a little less distinct. The other diodes are like kind of sharper, a little harder edge.
Yeah, I didn't actually play with the diodes as much as some of the other things. Maybe I'll spend some more time with that tonight. But It's a great sounding pedal, and I really liked the octave um, setting on, or having the octave turned on. Um, so after I tried that pedal, I used I put the DRV in, and it sounds great, but I should have started with that one because I'd already kind of heard the rat in action on the life pedal on the parentheses. It's not exactly the same, but like the DRV, it's a great sounding rat pedal, and uh, it doesn't have the extra features of the parentheses. So um, I think if you know what you want, you know, if you what you want is a rat type distortion pedal, that's great. But comparing those two pedals is unfair because the parentheses has those two additional, actually three additional features because you can set all those different diodes. You said four, right? Four different diodes.
Yeah, it's got 4 settings. Actually, one of the settings is no diodes at all, and what you're hearing is the op amp clipping.
Hmm.
And to be truthful, I actually like that sound. It's the loudest one. So when
Right.
you have it on
That's
the setting that sounds loudest, that's like no clipping at all, but it's the distortion is just coming from the op amp. And I actually like that sound. Though I like the germanium diodes too.
yeah. It'd be good to know what the different settings were. I think the first setting was the the op amp.
Yeah, the loudest one is the op amp, and the quietest one is the germanium diodes. And then in between, one of them is the silicone diodes, and then one of them's like silicone diodes and an LED.
Okay. Um, and did you? They seem like they're kind of in order of loudness.
Yeah, I think they arrange them that way. Yeah, you know. But
Okay.
yeah, this pedal's pretty good. Let me ask you this. So for the ergonomics of it, one of the things I look at is I'm like, how do people use this, right? So it's kind of weird. Like you got the diode clipping here, and then you got these 3 knobs. So this 3 knobs in the middle are the rat,
Hmm.
and then this is like the octave. No, wait, this one's the octave
That's
over
octave.
here, and
Yeah.
this is the boost, right?
Right.
So it kind of works like when you like I didn't put any labels on here, but like I can kind of understand it when I have the mental model there. So that's okay with me.
Hmm.
Um, then it's got the 3 foot switches. So I'm like, oh, bypass, octave, and boost. And I kind of like that arrangement. Like the bypass is always on the right side, so that works for me. The thing that I question is like how close the switches are. Like I feel this middle one is pretty close. If you had like a big foot, like
Yeah.
you could
I was
step
kind of
on one of the
thinking
outer ones.
if I had that on my board, I think I would need to get some of those pointy-toed cowboy boots or something like that. Um,
Yeah, right.
because I had on like a Converse type shoes, and it was a little bit of an effort to only hit one of the buttons.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing your gothic band, you could get some of those pointy kind of black boots,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's my one issue. Of course, like the thing is, like, what do you do? Do you make the box larger? Because that's the other choice. Is they make a box like this that's a size larger. It's like another inch or two wide, and so you could do that. But I don't know. I think this is okay.
I think it is. I think it's okay. It's just you just have to like step on it with the tip of your toe. Don't don't try to mash on it like you would with like an Ibanez type pedal or like a Boss pedal.
Yeah. Or maybe you don't switch the octave on and off. You're just like, I just set the octave on or off all the time, and then I just use the bypass. So it's like, it's got the octave sound on it. Or maybe you're just not using the octave.
Right. I think most people would probably, they wouldn't switch that in the middle of a song. They would just have the pedals set up one way or the other, and then they would just use the bypass or maybe the boost. Um,
Yeah.
like if
Yeah, I
you're
might use the boost, right?
yeah, if you're getting drowned out by the other guitarist or something like that,
Screw that guy.
you're at war with the other guitarist.
The drummer.
Yeah.
War with the drummer.
You should never go to war with the drummer.
Oh yeah, yeah, don't. It's detente, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so what was I thinking? Oh yeah, let me ask you a question. So, did you notice any noise with the pedal?
I did actually. I noticed some noise when I was at home, but it was I was using this guitar, and as you can see, it only has P90s on it. So, and it was like one setting that I don't remember how I got the noise because then I took it down to the practice space and I was just using my hot rail strat
Mhm.
and I didn't have any issues with noise.
Well, the issue I had is that if you have the gain all the way up and then
Hmm.
you turn the octave on and you have the octave mixed all the way up, you can hear a like kind of it sounds like a wind tunnel. It's like,
Yes.
you know, and I was having the hardest time getting rid of that. It's the weirdest thing. It's like if you have the gain all the way up, you hear some noise, but it just sounds like your high gain amp with the gain all the way up, you know?
Hmm.
It's kind of that kind of high gain kind of sound, you know? But then as soon as you turn the octave on, that sound turns into this like wind tunnel effect. And I was trying a few things to get rid of it. Again, it's not so bad. It just happens when the gain is like all the way up and the octave is all the way mixed up. Especially if you have the cut all the way down, so you're not cutting any of the treble. If you turn the tone control, it kind of basically filters out the highs, so they call it like a cut. So
Hmm.
as you turn it up, it's cutting the highs, right? And
Yeah,
that comes from the
maybe
original
that's what
Lat.
I did when I used it at home, but then I took it to the studio and I wasn't able to reproduce that again. Um, Not sure why, but again, maybe I'll try um, bring in the noise tonight.
Yeah, that was the issue I had.
You said that was a feature of the original rat as well, or the original parentheses.
Yeah, it's a feature. We'll call it a feature or a
Yeah,
bug of the parentheses fuzz. The Rat didn't have the octave circuit, so it didn't. It probably doesn't have that problem,
right.
right? But anyway, overall, I'd say this is a pretty good pedal. It's pretty
Yeah,
fun. It's
yeah.
good.
I really like the octave.
Yeah, yeah. That octave sound is kind of cool, but it's like an analog octave, so it's not gonna sound like all of the digital octave pedals that are out there these days that reproduce your sound, but an octave higher, right?
Right.
This is like an analog effect. So basically, what it's doing is it's imagine like you had a sine wave like this,
Hmm.
right? Imagine that like you took the waveform that's like imagine you have a center line here and the wave is going up and down above and below the zero, like the center line. Imagine like the little you know loop that's down here. You took it and flipped it up. So it's doing that electronically, right? It's like it's got two signals that are out of phase, but it's only showing you one half of each of those signals. So you end up with kind of a like imagine like a sine wave, but the bottom half is like flipped up like this. So it's just like boop, 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 right? But you have twice as many of those, right? So that's where it gets the octave, right? And but it's not perfect. So it's like a distortion, but like maybe higher up in the frequency. It's like a higher, octave frequency distortion.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I've never owned one of those like digital octave pedals. I guess I never really wanted one. It's like it's kind of a it's not like a effect I would use a lot. It'd be something maybe like if you didn't have a bass player or something like that, or I don't know. I don't really like the sound of it when it's like a higher octave. It just has a kind of a weird, kind of like squirrely frequencies in there that irritate my ear.
Mm. Yeah, this kind of octave, the analog octave will, it also sounds kind of like a ring modulator. There's some weird kind of overtones you get when you play like two notes, like a double stop,
Mm,
right? Or a chord. You'll get these kind of ring modulator tones, you know? The octave also kind of like, it kind of blooms or it'll come out of a note. So you'll play a note and you won't hear the octave, but as you hold the note and it sustains, the octave will kind of come out, you know? Right?
okay, interesting.
Yeah. You know, and then they say like essentially to get the, if you want to get the most out of the octave, like you want to kind of bring it out of the sound, you got to play with the neck pickup, roll off the tone control, and then play around the 12th fret, you know? And I think it works best for that reason because if you feed this type of circuit cleaner, more sine wave like like, you know, input, then the octave jumps out easier or it's more pronounced.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll try to do a little more recording tonight, using that as my mission parameters.
Yeah, give it a try. I'm curious.
Yeah, and then I'll edit that into my video and upload it to the channel.
Yeah, did you like the DRB?
I did. Yeah. It's it's kind of just a distortion pedal compared with the parentheses. It doesn't have the octave or the boost in it, but it sounds really great. I mean, um, it's got a big, tough, dirty sound, and it is kind of like a classic distortion pedal. It doesn't have a lot of subtlety. Like uh, you wouldn't use just a little bit of dirt. It's like all the way.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's more like the Brown sound, like, you know, Eddie Van Halen kind of distortion, 80s kind of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, where
Yeah.
the uh the rat style distortion is a little rougher around the edges, you know.
Right.
I got a question for you. Okay, so if we have this spectrum of like overdrive, distortion, and fuzz, where would you put those two pedals? So the DRV, where would you put it on the scale from overdrive, distortion, and fuzz, you know?
I would put it kind of at the top end of distortion. Like it's getting pretty close to a fuzz.
Okay. What about the parentheses fuzz? Fuzz is in the name on that one, but
Oh yeah, I think that's even higher on the spectrum. It definitely has one foot in the fuzz realm. It's not a big muff, but it is definitely it's pretty fuzzy.
yeah. I call them both distortion for me. I put them in the
Hmm.
distortion category, though as soon as you turn the octave on, then I call it a fuzz.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's kind of my categorization.
Right. It's almost like a different way of making a fuzz sound.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it definitely the octave just kind of thickens up the sound when you're playing chords, and if you're playing single notes, um, yeah, it's still I still wasn't getting a really strong like octave sound to me. It just sounded like a much fatter signal.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the octave is not super pronounced, right? Because it's not just like an octave mixed in. It's like taking your signal and making twice as many little, you know, waves in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right? And not necessarily perfectly, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like I said, you gotta play it and then like the notes kind of bloom out of it if you hold them. And
Hmm.
then it also matters like where you're playing and the sound that you put in, right? So if you, like I said, roll off the tone and then play with the neck pickup around the 12th fret, you get kind of you'll hear more of the octave up here, but you got to also play slow. If you play fast, maybe you don't notice it, but as you hold the note, like the octave will kind of bloom in, you know?
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. Actually, I noticed it was really easy to get the um, my amp to just feed back, just to kind of like for the sustain as it sustains for the as the volume of the signal goes down and then the feedback comes up. It was a really nice um, subtle feedback.
Oh, nice. Yeah, actually, that octave effect, it's a little different circuit, but same idea, right? Is like Roger Mayer made one of these called the Octavia, and he gave it to Jimi Hendrix, right? And so Jimi Hendrix used that on Purple Haze on the
Mm,
solo. So Purple Haze has the octave fuzz on it, so you don't really hear it. It's not like a strong octave, but you'll hear like these overtones, like these octave overtones, like on Purple Haze. You know,
right.
I haven't
Yeah.
listened to that in years. I should break it out and listen to it again.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it for a while either. But yeah, that's kind of like the classic octave fuzz sound. Um, like that Pog device
Mhm.
has a very distinct octave sound, and that's I don't like it. It sounds like when somebody's voice is sped up or something like that to me. Like a
Yeah,
helium voice kind of thing.
yeah. Well, that's done digitally, so they are processing your signal, with a you know digital software algorithm, and it's producing like an exact replica of your signal, but just twice the frequency.
Right.
No character.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. People, I don't know. Maybe it's cliche to say that analog is warmer sounding or has more heart, but in a lot of cases it really does.
yeah, maybe. you know I mean, I think in some ways, like, we like have been you know biased to a particular sound because like when we grew up or when we started listening to music, these newer effects didn't exist, so we're predisposed to like the older ones because we have a more experience with them.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
So we're kind of expecting that sound. If the older effects were sounded like the digital octave, like the Pog or something, we might expect that, and we might complain, hey, this is too much distortion.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, if somebody you know grew up with special effects that look like like Transformers or like modern CGI, and then they try to watch like old Star Trek or something like that, they just cannot buy into it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe. Yeah. Hey, so I got these boards for this uh, silicon tone bender. So it's a tone bender. It uses these silicon transistors that are like BC 109s. And so I built one of these and tested it. And so I got it working here. Here it is, the stone bender. I
The
bet someone's
Stone
already
Bender.
used that name.
Is that this one?
That's the one,
Okay.
right? So I built it up and it's working pretty good. Sounds all right, you know? So I'm gonna try and make a like a build page for this so anybody can build it for themselves.
Great. Yeah, I'll need that.
Yeah, you should totally build this. I think it's worth building. It sounds like a tone bender or a fuzz face. It
Okay.
cleans up well. Like if you roll back the volume, it's got that quality to it. It's not quite as crazy. Like if you like the sound of the Fuzz Factory, but you were like, it's hard to get the settings dialed in. There's too many like weird settings here. Like this would be a good choice. It's got a
Okay.
very Fuzz Factory kind of fuzz, but it's very predictable.
Okay. Oh, that's good. It's like the only fuzz that I own is the woolly mammoth that you gave me, and it sounds great. Um, but I do have a little bit of a hard time getting the settings dialed in to where I think it would be useful, like with a band. So yeah, I should try the tone better.
Yeah. Yeah, try this tone bender. I thought it came out pretty good. So I was trying to experiment too. Like I put this little notch here so that when I put the DC jack here, it'll have like it won't overlap the PC board, you know?
It's great.
That was kind of an experiment, right? Because the jack is here, right? But and that maybe that works out. I don't know. It kind of worked on this one.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
Some
So
adjustment.
so you don't sound like you're, like it was completely necessary to do that, but
Yeah, maybe not. You know, it did kind of help though a little bit, you know? So I'm gonna build, I got some more boards here to build too. So I'm gonna do this smash drive.
oh
You know
yeah,
what I
you
did?
gave me one of those too.
You know what I did the other night is I just sat around and I built the board. So I soldered this guy together and then I made this like clone of the Timmy. And this came out pretty good, but these capacitors right in here are all clustered a little too close together. So maybe I could adjust the board to make them fit a little better in there. And then I got this tremolo built. I just
Oh,
soldered all
this
the
is the
parts
Timmy.
on there. Yeah, and then I got this is like this thing called the crank. It's kind of like an overdrive, you know. It's like a DIY project. It's not like a product, right? But
Okay.
it had an interesting kind of circuit arrangement, so I thought I'd give it a try.
Hey, let's
Okay.
go back for a second. Did you
Yeah.
you said a tremolo? Was that the tremolo that you gave me?
Okay. So yeah, this is the same one, except I modified it a little bit after I built that one that I gave you. So it's hard to describe, but there's a section in it where it has an extra chip on it that's a single
Okay.
op amp, and they use it to buffer some of the voltage going somewhere, right? But I think you don't need that. So I took that out and then I modified this a little bit. That other one had something missing. There was like one trace missing, so it needed like a jumper on the back to get it working. So I fixed that, and then I took that other op amp out to kind of simplify the circuit a little bit. But this is otherwise it's the same. It's the same tremolo, just like version 1.2 or something, right?
Yeah, I thought that tremolo is great.
Yeah, did you like that?
Yeah. Um, it kind of, I mean, because of the, I was testing it out. I um, really, like tested the limits of the wave pot on it, and it made me curious if my Boss tremolo is able to have the kind of the extreme um, ramping of the wave. I still haven't gotten around to testing it, but I
Yeah.
loved the, like on either end of the knob travel for the wave knob. Um, it's a very different sound. It's like a very extreme, like sh 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 or woof woof, that kind of
Huh.
um,
Yeah,
like
cool.
extreme ramping.
Yeah, well, that's good that it's got like a unique sound, or there's like it's adjustable so you can get like, a few sounds out of it.
Yeah, and I think probably most people would keep the knob sort of, at 5 o'clock or at 12 o'clock for most things, and then like have the depth of the effect somewhere about the same, like just kind of uh, again probably 12 o'clock, or not all the way, but it's cool that you can do that. You can do um, that link ray rumble sound, and then you can also get that kind of psychedelic, far out, extreme ramping sound.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, I'm gonna build another one. So I got this one here. I gave you the one that I built because I wanted to update it. So I
Hmm.
updated it and I'm gonna build this one. I got another tremolo for you. So I got this one all soldered together. I just gotta build it. This is kind of an interesting one. I built this in the past, and it's a like they call it like a harmonic tremolo, and it's basically it's based on the tremolo that came in certain Fender amps. So some
Hmm.
Fender amps they have a tremolo that is just it sets the volume. like the volume goes up and down. But I guess Leo was into experimenting with the tremolo. He always called it vibrato
Hmm.
too. So it would say vibrato, but it was really, tremolo because it was volume, not pitch, right? But in some of the amps, and there's a few of the amps too, it's not just like one model, but a few of the Fender amps came with a tremolo that basically it splits the signal into a bass and a treble band, and then it cross fades from one to the other. So as the bass goes up, the treble goes down, and the treble goes up and the bass goes down, and it
Ooh,
cycles between the two like this, right? And it sounds super cool. It sounds a little bit like a phase shifter, a little bit like vibrato, a little bit like a univibe or something. It's got a really cool sound. Like I built one of these before and I showed it to someone and they're like, wow, that sounds really good, and I really like the sound of it. Um, so anyway, so I never had a circuit board for that, like, or I had like a homemade circuit board. And so this time I made like a production board for it. So I'm going to put this together and I'll give you one of these.
well, you might have given me a board for it
Oh,
already. I
great.
think it's this one, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, you should build it. Let me build it first and make sure that it works.
Okay.
And then if it's working, then you should build it,
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm going to build this too. I have a bunch of stuff now. So I got the boards all soldered up and I just need to make some enclosures and drill them.
Great. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that one. Um, your description has intrigued me.
Oh, it sounds good. I have one somewhere up on my shelf there that I made a while ago. And there's a couple people make this. There's I forget what it is. It's like, let me see if I can find it. It was like Zeppelin Effects or something.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it was like Zeppelin Harmonic Tremolo, something like that. Oh no, it's the Quervato by Zeppelin Labs. Here, let me share it with you. I'll share
Okay.
thing. I just found it here, right? So um, it's these guys like this thing. This guy's pedal's pretty good though. It has like a lot of options. So it has like a tap tempo and a bypass.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. You can also get it as a kit. So if you want, you can just build this one and buy the kit.
Okay, that's cool. I like that it has like a faceplate that you would rivet onto the front or whatever, or screw it on. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing that the name comes from the sound of quavering, like
Yeah.
it's a quaverato.
Quaverato. Yeah, right. So this looks pretty cool. I almost bought one of these, just to build it because I'm into the building of the DIY stuff, right?
How
So
much is the kit?
yeah, I almost bought the kit, but then I didn't. I
Okay.
was
Do you know
just like,
how
I
much
don't
is
want to spend money on it.
how much is it?
I don't know actually. That's a good question. It says from $15, so I
That's
guess you can
probably just
pay.
for the circuit board, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it looks like it's $100 for the kit, 99
Okay.
bucks.
Pretty nice kit. But I mean, uh, I think a lot of people would say like I can buy a used tremolo on Reverb or whatever for $100. I don't know. I mean, you have to justify that your pedal expenditure somehow.
Yeah, right. And this year I'm not buying any gear. I'm only making music with gear.
Mhm.
Though I am building stuff, so that's my loophole.
Right. Well, I mean, I like that you're making all your parts. It's like you're not really buying a lot of circuit boards. You're making them. Well, you still have to like have them manufactured, but
Yeah, this last thing was a pretty good deal. I got like 6 boards together and I ordered all at the same time. So the cost for the manufacturer was about $1 a board, but I got like 60 boards. So 6 different circuits, and 10 boards of each. And they actually gave me 11 boards for each one. So I have like way more circuit boards than I need, but they only, and I had to spend $60, but the actual boards like per piece was like $1 each, which is pretty good deal,
Oh yeah.
so that wasn't too bad. So yeah, so and then I can give you guys some. So you can, I'll give you a few and then I'll give Dan some. I got some for Dan here. So this is like Dan's envelope right here,
Oh
you
great.
know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll see Dan tonight so I can tell him he's got an envelope full of boards that he has to build.
Yeah, it has to build,
Hmm.
right? But anyway, yeah, so I'm working on that. You know what I did on my song this week is I used the B9. It didn't
Oh.
sound that great. I got to work on my B9 riffs, but I broke this out. This thing sounds pretty good. It like for the it does really sound kind of like an organ. It doesn't sound that great, but it sounds pretty good for what for for the effect.
Well, it doesn't sound like a guitar.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds a lot like an organ.
Yeah, and it tracks well too. So you
Yeah.
play and there's not like a lot of lag, and you
Hmm.
can play chords. It's like kind of amazing, like what you get.
Yeah. No, it's really amazing that that effects pedals are able to do that. I mean, our Electro Harmonics makes pretty good gear, but like, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when companies like Boss would put those multi effects units together, and they had something like a guitar synth or whatever, and it didn't track very well at all. Like I have the Boss, what's it called, the GT3, and it has a couple of synthesizer effects, and it's pretty pretty slow to track.
Yeah, it's pretty. Those are pretty bad. Those old ones. I mean, like at the time they were revolutionary, but they didn't work that well.
Right,
They were just like it was just too early. The technology wasn't available.
right.
You know.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that GarageBand even has like an effect that just like replaces your guitar signal sound with a synthesizer.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't found it yet. Maybe it's in there. You know. Hey, so did you listen to any good music this week?
Oh, I think I did. I think I did. Um, I just can't remember the name of it. Let me pull it up for you. Um, it was a band from New York City
Mhm.
um, called Earth Eater.
Earth Eater.
Earth Eater, and it's it's kind of gothy and dark. Um, this woman is she was in another band. I can't remember the name of it now, but uh, yeah, check out Earth Eater. It seems sort of theatrical, um, but yeah, that was very cool. And then Jamie, before I talk about this one, I got to bring up this band Lithics.
Hmm.
Lithics, and they kind of remind me of Delta Five. It's just like really kind of chaotic, like punky. As one of my coworkers said, it's sort of like deconstructed jazz.
Deconstructed jazz. Can you deconstruct jazz?
I think you can deconstruct almost anything.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
I can anyway. My problem
yeah,
always is reconstructing. I can take anything apart. I just putting it back together is hard.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the whole conundrum behind Humpty Dumpty. Yeah. But I don't know. In deconstructing this jazz, they made something really cool. It's very high energy, very loud. It's not distorted. It's is uh, I don't know. Give it a listen. It's cool.
Okay.
The name of their album was Mating Surfaces.
Hmm.
Yeah, Lithics. Lithics.
I found them on Bandcamp.
Yeah, that's where I found them.
Yeah, cool.
How about you? What did you listen to?
I didn't listen to too much this week. What did I listen to? I think I was listening to some Fu Manchu. I'm trying to catch up on my Fu Manchu. I released a couple albums on Bandcamp. Um, what else? I think that was about it, you know. I was kind of not on my listening game this week.
Mm.
Some other
I was
stuff going
really
on.
over time on my listening game. I listened to a lot of good music, um, and I got some recommendations based on Lithics. My coworker had mentioned Big Flame. They're kind of in that same vein, but they're actually from the 80s. Um,
Oh,
and another band that's in that kind of genre is called The Great Leap Forward, also an old band.
oh, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, I somehow it escaped notice, but I think there are a lot of bands in the 80s. There was a real underground then. Um, I mean, there's an underground now. It's just undiscovered bands, but like
Yeah,
um, if
yeah,
music
yeah,
is good, usually it gets found now.
yeah. Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Is like in the '80s, like if you were the underground band, like the people in your local neighborhood knew about you, and then nobody else heard about you, and you were like, there's no digital archive of your work that is saved in an easy to access location. Like
Yeah.
there might be some dusty cassette tapes or a couple vinyl records like in somebody's basement, or in the back of a record store, but it's hard to find them.
Hmm.
But if you were from the 2000 era, if your band started in 2000, like all of a sudden there's like digital records, there's a MySpace page, you're on Facebook, you
Yeah.
have
There's Bandcamp.
there's Bandcamp, like someone pirated your music and uploaded it to freemp3.com or something, or it's on.
Right.
Is
I mean, I don't
Napster
know who
still
did
around?
it, but I'm sorry.
Is Napster still around?
I don't think so.
Huh.
I don't think so. But yeah, it's like YouTube. Because of YouTube, a lot of stuff has been unearthed. Like there are some videos by Big Flame on the on the YouTube.
Oh, funny. Maybe I'll go check them out.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a live video that I saw. It was pretty rough, pretty bad old video. But
Yeah.
somebody's also like maybe like digitized a cassette or something like that, and so you can hear um, some better fidelity stuff.
Yeah.
But check out Lithics. I think you'll like it.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out. I need to get back on my listening game. Let's see. So, hey, what about projects? You got any projects for this week?
Projects for the week. Um, what can I commit to? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I've been really having a hard time, getting my projects done. Maybe I'll do some shopping, some parts shopping.
Get order parts for those circuit boards and then just do what I did. The other night, the way I got everything done is I had these boards just sitting around, and just one night I was like, I'm just gonna solder all the resistors on all the boards. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to solder all of the other parts, like the diodes and the, capacitors. I just did everything, like all six boards all at the same time.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it was great. And then now that they're assembled, I could just take one and I'm like, okay, now I just need to make an enclosure and drill it. And then I can put this inside and I'm done. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. You're a one man assembly line.
Yeah. Well, it does take some practice. So like, the first time you're gonna be slower for you, but like I had all the parts on hand, because I've been buying parts for a long time. So they're kind of already here. So that made it easier. And then like I kind of know how to do it. It's like rote,
Hmm.
from practice. But you got to get started, right? So just get started and do it. After you solder up like six boards at the same time, like all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I think like one of the the holdups for me is just like determining that the parts that I have are the right parts. You know.
Yeah, do this. You know what I do is I get Notepad out on my laptop, and then I just go down the parts list and I just write down all the parts, right? And then if I go to the next project, I write down the parts and I just tally up how many I need. Because like maybe project A has like it needs like 5 10K resistors, and then you get to project B and it needs another 3 10K resistors, and I just add them up, and then I just order everything at once.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, it's also, like kind of figuring out what parts that you buy. I've seen comments from people saying like, yeah, I went to buy all these parts, and then I ended up with these things that look like they're like fuses in a car or something like that, but they're supposedly it's a 10K resistor.
Oh, yeah, you got to get the right kind, right? So for resistors, you want to buy either the 8th watt or the quarter-watt resistors. If you get like the half-watt or 1 watt or anything higher, that's just going to be this giant thing because it's made to like put like 400 volts through it, right? Like you don't want that.
Yeah.
So you need like the 8th watts are like little tiny ones, and then the quarter-watts are the ones that you typically see. you know
Right.
that 8th watt or quarter-watt is good for 9 volts.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had that problem personally, but uh, I might have had some guidance on like which parts to buy.
Yeah, well, get your parts together and send me the list, and I can check it for you.
All right. Okay. I'll do that.
Yeah. You can get pretty much almost everything at Tida, and their search function works really good. So if you just type in, you know, 10K resistor at the top, like it'll give you all the 10K resistors, and then you just got to go through the list and figure out which one you want. Or if you type in the pots, they usually have like a letter, so it'll be like A100K. So
Hmm.
the A is the taper. So if you type in A100K, it'll give you all the audio taper 100K pots, and it'll just show them to you. Or if you
Right.
type in B1K, then it'll give you all the 1K linear taper pots, like B is for linear,
Right.
right? And it
I
says
think I.
it'll say that on the parts list too. So if you just type it the way it appears on the parts list, then you probably can't go wrong.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think I'm pretty good on pots and jacks and switches. So yeah, I just need a lot of uh, resistors and diodes and things like that. That I, you know, I'm
yeah,
unsure of what the values are right now. But yeah.
yeah. Buy like when you buy resistors, buy like 50 or 100, because then you'll just have spares. So the next project, you won't have to buy them. You'll have them. That way you can just build up like a library.
Hmm.
I do this. I take all my resistors and I put them in this box. And so it's just kind of like this is pretty much all the values I need. So it actually doesn't take up that much space either. And I just have them in here like in value order from smallest to largest.
That's what I need to do. I need to
Yeah.
sort them like that.
Yeah. So then I just like flip through here and I'm like, oh, these guys right here are 10K, right? Or is this bag right here?
All right. Good idea.
Yeah, and then I have another box like that has the capacitors in it, and another box that has a bunch of transistors in it.
Yeah, I just have all mine in the same box right now, and they're not in any order. So
Yeah,
I need to work on that.
yeah,
So what
cool.
are you going to work on this week?
Well, I'm gonna build. I have all these circuit boards, so I'm gonna try and build another one of these up. I think I'm gonna build this Smash drive first because it's the smallest and easiest.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to hear that one.
Yeah,
And if it works, I think I might have a circuit board to make one of those.
yeah, make one. Yeah, dude, that's an easy one. It's like kind of a classic DIY project. Like it was kind of made up over at DIY stomp boxes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I think it's good. I don't know. I haven't really built that one, but I built some other circuits that use the same chip and they sound good.
Can you put this in a mini box?
Maybe you could try and fit it in there. It might fit. I planned it for this size box, like the MXR size. So
Okay.
it should fit like, kind of like this in here, on the back, you know.
Cool.
Um,
Okay.
so I'm gonna build one of those. Maybe I'll start with that smash drive.
Cool. All right. Well, um, you're an inspiration to us all, Mitch.
Yeah, hopefully, right? I'm trying to inspire people. Okay, cool. Well, let's call it a day. Any final words for our
Just
devoted following?
thank you for joining us for yet again another Make Guitar podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.